Oh, all right. Yeah, folks, we're gonna get started today a little bit. Just gonna go ahead and roll with this. John's gonna be rolling a little bit late, work stuff. We have regular lives we have to live, so it bees that way sometimes, and it's all right. Oh, look at that. Perfect timing. Look,
Hey, TJ.
immaculate timing, John. I just started. That's
We
incredible.
just started. There we go. There we go.
Amazing.
Better slightly late than never.
No, it's fantastic, man. How you been?
Been good. Been good. Been a busy day. Today's
Yeah.
Monday at work, so lots of
Life, yeah. I like
lots of just
honestly,
random tedious stuff to deal with.
God, it's incredible how much of your life is just taken over by the most monotonous tedium imaginable. Like it's just like if you could go back in time like a million years to like our like proto Homo sapien ancestors, like, yeah, guys, we appreciate the big brains and all, but we're gonna use it to stare at spreadsheets all day, do accounting shit and to sit in Zoom calls. It's like, oh God, it's we've come a long way, but regressed a long way as well. It's
well, we have like, if you've ever read about like what actual life was like, what we think life was like back then, it didn't really require all of that much effort to just survive. Like, obviously, I would not ever want to go live back then. There were so many things. I like my air conditioning, for example.
Yeah.
However, there is something we said that people worked, I think, like 15 hours a week back then. Like, if we're talking just like the hunting and gathering and construction, and the rest of time was spent with not doing much to conserve energy. And because calories were your currency back then, and childcare, socializing, like that, so much more time for all of that stuff. And we've somehow found a way to make us work, for most of human history in like modern industrial area, we're talking 80 hours a week. And it's gotten down to 40, but still, like, what we could be doing, what our lives could be like if we just tapped the brakes. Like I obviously there's people who need to work more, like doctors and stuff, to save lives, and researchers, but there's no fucking reason people working email jobs need to be working 40 hours a week. There's no way society is made better by that. There's only one group of people that are made better by that, and that's the people who own the companies.
Yeah, it's so true. It'd be a weird trade-off we'd have to make, like you were saying, because we could just dial things back, but in a lot of ways we don't want to, because of, like you mentioned, like air conditioning. I like that. Like I want to have stuff like that. But like looking back at like with hunter-gatherer societies and everything, one thing that kind of came out of that, like eating 3 meals a day is a rather new thing. I mean, even relatively, looking back through human history, like back in those days, you ate when you could. Like you gather. Usually they would eat maybe one like big meal a day, up until like a couple hundred years ago. That was just the way it was. You just didn't eat all that much. And go back to hunter-gatherer days, there just wasn't a lot of food. So it is interesting to think that the way we grow up is just the way we think the world's always been. When you don't got to go back too many generations before the world is like unrecognizable.
Yeah, and it is crazy to think. I always think about it this way. Imagine how, if you tried to explain modern life, anything about modern life, to someone in the Roman Empire 1,000 years ago, or whatever the Roman Empire was, you wouldn't be able to. You'd be talking about concepts that they would have no basis for understanding. Like, try to explain the internet to someone who's pre-electricity. You just can't. And so, like, imagine what it'll be like just 500
right?
Like, there are types of existence that we haven't even fathomed that will probably, our grandkids will probably experience at the rate that technology is improving. And it's really crazy to think about. As much as it feels like nothing ever changes, things change rapidly.
It does. I mean, I remember it was 2012, and I was laying down in my barracks room, and I had an iPod, and I was connected to the Wi-Fi, and I was watching Jackie Brown. I think I was watching Jackie Brown, and I just remember staring at like, this is incredible. I'm holding like a 5-inch device in my fucking hand that's not connected to anything, and I'm watching it. It was shattering my brain. So you don't even have to go that far in our lifetimes before you saw stuff that was unrecognizable. And so the Roman Empire. So 1,000 years ago, the Roman Empire would have existed technically because if you ask like historians when the Roman Empire fell, they'll tell you like 450, like AD 450, 490, something like that. But that's only the Western Roman Empire, the one that we think of, the one that was actually in Rome, because Rome was split between the West and the East. And so the empire that we call the Byzantines out in Constantinople, they would have called themselves Romans. Like they would have kept calling them that empire lasted like the 1200s or something. So yeah, the Romans would have been around, but that's just not how we refer to them in a weird way. But you were talking about,
it's crazy to think about like how not that long ago empires exist.
No.
Like it was like World War I when the last empires kind of just like stopped calling themselves empires. It's really crazy to think about.
Yeah, like when Britain started giving up all of its colonies and stuff in the mid 1900s, really. I mean, it's and I guess they still have some of them, but
that's a very generous term.
Yeah, yes, this is something that bothers me because like, whoa, look how like the European powers just magnanimously gave up their colonial property. Yeah, they gave them their sovereignty and kept all the money, and they kept all. Yeah, so like France has like billions of dollars worth of gold. There isn't a single gold mine in France, and so like, you tell me what's going on there, and so. Yeah, they may have left like all their colonies and shit, but all the corporations that were there, they're still there, and they're still extracting money from these places. But I went to the Roman Empire real quick. I swear we'll get to politics soon enough, folks. But
I mean, this is very related to all politics.
It's true. So I saw a meme a long time ago, and it said, if you went back to like the Roman times with an iPhone, how long do you think it would take you to take over the world? Or do you think you could? And I was like, oh, that's a good question because you can't really do anything with it, but you would seem like a wizard. Like people would be terrified.
So you're saying so I was assuming this was a magical iPhone that
no, it's just an electronic device that can like play movies that you have saved on there for like a day and a half or something.
Yeah, you'd be dead. You'd be dead instantly. The moment it died, the crowd would just eat you. They would burn you for being a witch.
Well, maybe, yeah. Because you would have a lot of knowledge, but they would like you
show it off. Like you cannot. It has to be a magic like box that only you can consult.
I know
it's gods and gives you answers. If you could set me up with an internet connection.
Oh, done.
Back in time.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome.
No time at all.
So much fun.
It's just. People have started like massive cults with way less than an iPhone, and so that's why you'd have a fighting chance, I think. No
one would know what I would set up. I would just do a Ponzi scheme. That's all I need. I just start a Ponzi scheme. No one's ever heard of it before. No one knows what a multi-level marketing scheme is. I would make so much money, and when the king eventually got upset at me, I'd be like, hey, tell everyone that it's going to be an eclipse next month.
Right? Yeah.
Love you and think you're a god.
Done, yeah.
And then I'm the number one advisor, and I'm.
That's true. That's true.
And it's over from there because he doesn't know what like cholera is, and I can just.
Yeah, I know, right? I always say like if you found your way into like a military position, all you would need to do is say, hey, listen, every one of my soldiers, wash your hands before you eat and don't drink downstream from where people are shitting in the river. You would win every war, like every single one of them, like just with hygiene alone. So yeah, like it wouldn't take much, but you need to get in the position first.
Just look over at the Alps and look for elephants. Let me know when they're coming.
Let's check out the elephants.
How was this army defeated? And just say over.
Can you imagine if you've never seen an elephant before and then one just shows up? Like, I mean, it would, if you'd never heard of an elephant and you walked outside and saw one, like, I think it was a demon. I think the world was coming to an end, right? It's like, oh God. So did you see the topic that I pic? Did you see the?
Every dog has its day. Kristi Noem's dead dog seeks revenge from the grave.
So yeah, I really want to talk
Kristi
about that.
Noem's dog is so funny. I remember,
it's great.
if you remember, we were talking about the Trump VP picks, and I was like, Kristi Noem, that's it.
Me too.
She's the
I
hottest
agree.
one. And I still think that's the case. But this dog
no
thing,
chance. No chance.
I mean, this is. Go ahead. You start. You start it off.
Well, before I start, I wanted to say something to you, like on personal, just between us. That PhD
just between us, we're saying on a live stream.
Well, I mean, like this only we know about this. But the PhD candidate that you recommended talked to me, that talked to you. So I was talking to her, and she was asking like how I did social media and everything like that, and she asked me a question like, so do you ever talk about, personal stuff, like in your personal life? I said very rarely, really. I don't really do it. Like if I have a funny story in my life, I'll tell that. But the closest I get talking about my personal life is like I'll show my cat or something. She goes, "Oh yeah, Wolfie." I was like, "Whoa, you really did your homework." So yeah, I watched a bunch of your videos. Like, God, it's more homework than I would have done. You're a much better student than me. So, but that was fun. Thank you for recommending. Did you have a good time with her?
No, I did. Yeah, it was really cool. Like, I'm glad that, because I just like periodically check the like filtered hidden messages every once in a while, and I happen to check like the same day she messaged.
Oh wow.
So yeah, no, it was a fun interview. It's really cool. Like, it was cool because she was a fan of mine, and reached out to me, and she said that like I was like one of the people who like made her think of this idea for her PhD thing.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Like, she started me and she was like, "Oh yeah, it's so cool. I see like all the albums from behind you, like on a different angle. Like it feels like I'm like inside the TV." It is like crazy. Like, I don't know if you ever think about this, but like this behind me is like people's conception of my reality. Like I live in this box. I see all of this, but they see this. And like you kind of fill in the edges like an AI, like one of those AIs that can like expand a painting. You just kind of naturally do that in your subconscious. I have an idea of what the rest of your room probably looks like. I have no fucking clue. And when you spend hours watching our content, you kind of like familiarize yourself with the place in your mind. So when you see it from a different angle, it's like, oh shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, that would be. She mentioned my background too, because she said that most of the people she's done interviews with don't really have much of a background, or maybe they don't like do the background for the interview. She says it's just like a wall or something. And then she said a lot of the conservatives she talks to just have like a wall in the background. And I said I thought that was weird, because like with conservatives, they try to make themselves like, like you had those dorky conservative kids in school. They always try to seem older. They always try to act like a 50-year-old, hello, Heather. And they bring like briefcases to school and shit like that. Conservative, like they have like a faux brick in the background or libraries. It always cracks me up when they do that shit. But you're right, because essentially people that watch the content, I never really thought about that the stuff you frame around you, like that is their perception of you. They know there's more, but that's all they see. And so you're kind of like a fourth dimensional being, like seeing more than everybody else can. It's actually pretty cool. I never really thought about that.
Yeah, like I'm sure my audience thinks I'm like way more into music than I am, because of my I just happen, this is where my desk is. I like this as a decor item. I like music, but I'm not like some like music freak like who's just like really into it. It's my fiance just said it's half her collection, so that's
fraud. This guy's a phony.
Like people will like just like when I'm like chatting the DMs, like they'll start conversations with me about music. I'm like, dude, like I'm not a huge like music. Like, I don't know music history. I'm a total poser with this shit.
So in the background up here, I have a album. It's by a band called Death is the album, and the album is Death for the Whole. I don't know if you ever saw the documentary, a band called Death. Very good. And so I just have it there because I like the documentary and the music of the album. And I love more than anything whenever you're like, hey, is that Death in this? Yes, that is Death in the background. Like, I love it. It's I don't know, it's fun. I love getting to do this, folks. I love it. So, all right, Kristi Noem. So I said this. I've been saying this for roughly the same time. We both agreed last year that in the running, Trump was probably going to pick a woman, and so the candidates that people were tossing around were Boebert and Green. I didn't think they were going to get it, and then Kristi Noem and Lee Stefanik. And we both agreed that it would be Kristi Noem because Trump would pick the hotter one. That's just the kind of guy he is. And so I don't think so now, though. I don't think so. After this dog thing, I think that people are sprinting from her. And it's been so fun to watch this. I've been having a blast, man. Because the story came out. For those of you who doesn't know this by now, but Kristi Noem wrote a book that released like yesterday or something, but some clips from it or some excerpts from it came out, and she told a story. Well, there's two stories that have been catching up. The dog story is she had a 1-year-old dog. It was like 14 months old, and she was using it as a hunting dog, but she said that it was too aggressive, and it would instead of like letting her hunt, it would chase away the pheasants and stuff like that. And so she shot it. And it killed a bunch of her chickens. And so she's like, this dog is a menace. And she shot. And first off, she lived on a farm. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm not a farm boy, but farms have a pretty good relationship with like veterinarians and stuff. Like she could right? I mean, she didn't need to shoot.
You think that a sitting is she a senator or congressman or
a governor?
Governor. Okay. You think that a sitting governor would have enough connections where she could rehome a dog? You would think.
Yeah, and here's also the thing: no one even knew about this. She volunteered this info.
That's the not on TJ. I don't think everyone has had a proper grasp of just how far off this woman's like sense of what human beings think about shooting dogs. Yes. Not only did she shoot her dog, not only did she think that was an okay story to tell, she thought it was an okay story to put in her own book and thought it was such a good story that she released it as one of the preview excerpts.
Incredible.
Oh my God. Like, if you ask me, what is the number one thing that like a political person could do to like get people pissed off at them? Like, it's not a sex scandal. It's not like Brett Favre stealing millions of dollars from It's shooting a dog. Like shooting a dog is the number one thing. It's a classic thing. It's like in a movie, I don't care if like a human dies, but if a dog dies, I'm bawling my eyes out. And he's just like, I just shot the dog. I didn't even need to shoot the dog. I just wanted to shoot the dog.
It's like our go-to example for a shithead person is like kicking a puppy. Yeah. And like that's what she shot one. And it's like and bragged about it. Like I've never seen anyone's political ambitions evaporate faster than Kristi Noem's. I've never seen it. Like we've seen people like that had meteoric rises that people thought a lot of like Ron DeSantis, people thought, back in the day, Howard Dean or John Edwards, but at least there was a long time with them being in the public spotlight. 6 months ago, no one outside of people like us knew who Kristi Noem was. Yeah. Now they know her as the dog shooting governor.
It's the only thing. That's the biggest. It's her first thing in the national spotlight is that she killed her dog.
And what's got me about this is, have I got some clips, John? This is because she's going on the news now. And so I did a video the other day talking about, okay, why does Kristi Noem keep going on the news? Because have you seen these interviews? Everyone is.
I really have.
Oh my God. Oh, great. You're going to have a good time. Every interview is an absolute train wreck. It's awful. I was like, why does she keep doing this? And then someone commented, oh, she's probably like contractually obligated for the book sales. Like, oh, okay. That would at least explain it. But okay. All right. Check this out. So let's see.
The book sale is actually probably doing wonderful. This is actually
right. I do want to read this book. That's true. I do want to read it.
What else? What other fucked up shit did she do? Did she drown a baby? What is this woman capable of?
All right. So the clip that I'm about to pull up, this is going to be her on Fox News Business Channel. And she's talking with Stuart Varney. And Stuart Varney is one of many hosts that keep cornering her on this dog thing because it's just tanking her numbers and everything. And let's just see how she responds to this light grilling by Stuart Varney.
In line to be Trump's vice president.
No, it's up to Donald Trump. He's the only person who will.
I've never even heard her talk before. Did I just hear that she had like a British accent?
Oh no, she's on British accent. Man, I want to get a different viewpoint here. Can you do some filler time, John? Give me a second here.
Yeah, let's fill some time. The thing I was gonna say, like to put into perspective, just like how crazy it is, Dick Cheney shot his friend in the face, and it went over much better than this happened.
Way better.
Like, he shot an actual human in the face who he was friends with, and that was 1,000 times better received than Kristi Noem shooting her dog.
It's true. It's true. Like you said, go for the person, not the human. All right. So this is Stuart Varney asking her about how she feels about this whole thing.
I can't hear it now.
Ugh. Yeah,
Technical difficulties, folks.
We're too excited about this whole thing. All right, let's try this.
And I spoke. Yes, I do speak to him.
May I ask what he said to you about being vice president?
I never tell anybody my personal conversations.
Did
with
the dog story
President
come up
Trump.
in a conversation?
I talk to President Trump all the time
about the dog,
about a lot of things. And right now, I tell you what, he is being persecuted in a political witch hunt in this court case. So I'm proud of him about how tough he is and how well he is doing.
Did you bring up
the
dog?
Yes, enough, Stuart.
Did you
this
bring
interview
up the dog
is ridiculous, what you were doing right now. So you need to stop. It is.
Okay.
It is. Let's talk about some real topics that Americans care about.
I'm afraid we're out of time.
Oh, well, of course we are.
We do.
I just love that.
Let's talk about real topics that Americans care about. I don't think there's anything that I care about more hearing from Kristi Noem than about how she shot her dog. There's absolutely nothing I care about more than how Kristi Noem shot her dog. There's nothing she can tell me.
Absolutely not. It's just. Can we talk about other things? Oh, sorry, we're out of time. Oh, of course we are. Like she was
that actually is funny.
It was funny. That was pretty funny. Of course. Yeah. And so another thing she said in the book was that she said that she met with Kim Jong-un. And she didn't, right? Like that was a bullshit. She did not. She did not. And she has been going on the news trying to defend this, and it has been fantastic to watch. Because so in this one, this interview is going to be with Face the Nation, and they're asking her, "Hey, why did you include this if it wasn't real?" And I've never seen someone with like worse prep for answers. Like her answers are just brutally bad. Okay, let's go here.
World leaders, and one specific one. Quote, "I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all."
I also want to add that she also had to throw shade at kids for no reason too. Just say no, I'm gonna shit on children.
Those little shits. There's like some like child out there who's just like, oh, she was my children's pastor. I'm gonna watch this interview of hers.
I didn't even
Kim Jong-un.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, John. That's true. Like she's shitting on kids. But all right.
Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days, and that those edits will be in place, and that people will have the updated version.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that. This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that was adjusted. So.
Yeah, so no answer at all. Just no answer at all. It's like, go ahead.
It doesn't even like you wrote it, bitch. What do you mean? It was brought to my attention. You wrote it. I don't even understand what that means.
It's
obviously
awful.
She didn't write it. Like let's all be very clear here. She did not write the book. I think that's beyond. I don't even think she read the book.
So here's the thing: she did read the book. She absolutely did, because she did. She did an audiobook, and she read the story.
She read the audiobook?
She read the audiobook. Like the audiobook. like she read the
It was
audio
brought to
book.
her attention. I read this. I recorded it. I was unaware that this is what was written
Yeah.
purportedly by me.
And there's another story in there. She talks about meeting French President Macron, and like no one can verify that either. Although like the Kim Jong-un one was an absolute lie, but the Macron one people aren't too sure of. I think in this interview they bring up the fact that she read it.
The book, it's because it's untrue.
I've given you my answer, no, and that's not the answer. I would say that, you know, this is something that I asked to have adjusted and have the content and that name removed, and that is truly what the action has been.
You said when you learned of it, you immediately took action. You recorded the whole book and the audiobook. You read this whole passage out loud. Why didn't you take it out then when you read the audiobook?
You know, I've traveled for years. I've been involved in policy for almost 30 years. And so I've gone all across the world. I've met with world leaders.
So you didn't realize when you recorded the audiobook?
When it was brought to my attention, and I asked the publisher if they would remove the name, and they did.
Okay, but you didn't answer my question. When you posted pictures and video of yourself recording the audiobook. When you recorded your own audiobook, you didn't notice
I'm
this
not going to
passage?
discuss about my meetings with world leaders.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you about recording the audiobook.
Did you want to talk about something else today?
No, I just wanted to know. I mean, we're just trying to get a straight answer from it. This has been.
Oh, you did. I mean, and I took responsibility for it.
Incredible. Like, just incredible. It's just like, look, I get if you're cornered and you're trapped in a lie and you don't want to admit it. Like, I get that. Like, I can understand why you wouldn't want to, but why go on TV? Like, why do it then? Like, if that's the best answer you have is that, hey, did you meet with Kim Jong-un? Listen, I've met with many world leaders. I've been all around the world. I've done lots of stuff for No. Well, did you meet him? Well, when it was brought to my attention, you know, I changed it. Well, you read it. Well, listen, you know, are we here to talk about this? It's embarrassing. Like, it's painful to watch that shit.
Well, painful isn't like if I liked Kristi Noem, it would be painful. If I was Kristi Noem, it would be painful. But, but from this position, it's actually quite joyous.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It is great.
What's interesting, like what I find interesting about this is that there's obviously incentive to lie. Like clearly, we all understand she didn't write the book. She didn't give a shit about the book. She did read the audiobook, but really didn't care what she was doing. So she was just showing up to work like the rest of us, clocking in, clocking out, not really paying attention. That's what happened. I'm very obvious. Like, it's obvious that is the case. I don't think anyone is sitting here. There isn't even a story that she's telling. She's not giving any explanation for why it happened. She's just denying. And I don't understand why she doesn't just say, yeah, honestly, guys, like, a ghostwriter wrote the book. It is real stories about my life. I wasn't paying very close attention. I really should have. I understand that, but I've had bigger priorities as governor of wherever the fuck I'm governing. I'm completely forgetting again. And like this book just wasn't my highest priority. I wanted to give, you know, potential voters and look into my life. And I don't prioritize my own image as much as I prioritize the people of the city I'm governing. That would have been a wonderful answer. Like that would have been a wonderful answer. Everyone would have bought it. It would have shut everything down. And honestly, I would have had more respect for her. That's just fucking clown shit. And the fucking MAGA base would eat that shit up. You know, so it's a no lose. And the book would probably even sell better. I
think there's a better way to handle it. Because here's how I think, because imagine if this was Donald Trump. What would he do? Like if this happened to Donald Trump, where you pointed out an obvious lie in a book, Donald Trump would do one of a few things. One, he would just make a joke out of it. Like he would just be like, Kim Jong-un would be too afraid to meet me. So I kind of made up the story, just clown on him or stuff, like something ridiculous like that. Or he would just go full attack mode on the interviewer. Like, who the hell do you think you are? You know, are you a politician? You don't know anything about this. Like, that's what Trump would do. Like, Trump would find his way to make it entertaining. And she doesn't have that. Like, most people don't, honestly. But and also, the Trump base doesn't care how honest you are. Like you mentioned, they don't. So as long as you display strength, they're going to respect that. She's not displaying strength. She's being weird.
Yeah.
So what?
She's displaying weakness. Like that is weakness. Like, if you're in an interview,
it's super weak.
I won't answer the question. It's so weak. It's so weak.
Yeah. And she's doing the politician thing. That's the worst thing to do, is that they ask you a very straightforward question. Did you meet Kim Jong-un? Her answer, I've met with many. Like, no, that's horrible. That's the worst answer you could possibly give. And you know, they told her to say that because she sticks to the script. She says the same thing. I met with many leaders. I've traveled all around the world, which I have a hard time believing that too. Like, you're the governor of South Dakota. Who the fuck is lining up to meet the governor of South Dakota if you're a world leader? Like, why? Why would you do that? So yeah, it's like her media training for this is awful. Some of the worst I've ever seen, and she keeps doing it. She's a glutton for punishment. There's one more I got to show you, and this is like,
I want to say before you play this, I had one comment.
Oh, I was talking about
two things. One, I have another clip that I wanted to show of a Republican we like to make fun of doing the same thing and not answering the question. I'll tease that for later, but also every time Kristi Noem met a world leader, 20 seconds before they met her, while she was walking towards the world leader, an aide whispered in the world leader's ear who Kristi Noem was and where she was governor of. Every single time, I guarantee it.
Yes, yeah, it's yeah. She's the governor of what? There are two of them. Like, it's like, it's like that's what that's how the conversation went. Yeah, it's like I have a hard time believing that too. Like, why the fuck are they meeting with Kristi Noem at all? And the thing is. So here's, like you mentioned, the book came out, I think, yesterday. So the only reason we know these stories is because she released them herself. Like, she said, hey, here's a snippet of me killing my dog and meeting the leader of North Korea. She did that on purpose. Like, she thought, like, her political instincts are dog shit. Like, she thought it would make her look. Well, it's like, cause like the I have a hard time getting this together. So she thought that killing her dog made her look strong. I'm the person who's strong enough to make the tough decisions. And she even mentions in the book too that her 7-year-old is like, hey mom, where's Cricket? Where'd Cricket go? And it's like, what? So you shot a dog and you broke your child's heart because the kid's not going to ask about a dog they hate. They're going to ask about a dog they like. And then you fabricate an entire meeting with Kim Jong-un as if no one could verify. Like, how far did you think you could get before? You know what this was? You know what the problem is? She's governor of a state that has like 400,000 people in it. Like, she's governor of a tiny ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
She could just lie in South Dakota and no one would even notice.
Yeah. It's like they still use like telegraphs over there and shit. They don't even have modern communication and everything.
One more thing before we hit the next clip. I just want to say, can you imagine, like, we've all been, at work and we wake up to a message in the morning where it's like, oh, the CEO did this really dumb thing, and now you have to do a shitload of extra work that doesn't make any sense. Can you imagine being like the social media intern for Kristi Noem, waking up and being like, wait, she shot her dog? What the fuck? Who leaked that story? I'm going to fucking find them and kill them. Wait. It's in her book?
Oh God, it's so bad, man. Yeah, it's got to be a 5-alarm fire over there. I can't imagine. So what's interesting about this is, so we saw a Fox News clip and Stuart Varney's pushing her, is that the Republicans and Republican media, they smell the blood in the water of Kristi Noem. They know it's over. They know that, all right, she is going nowhere. Like, even if she could, like, she's just proven she's not ready for the big leagues. Like, hell, I've never run for any office, and I would know not to do something like that. Just release this terrible story.
Can you imagine, like just like Michael Vick sponsoring her ads? Like,
oh, I forgot to mention this when you talked about this earlier. How Americans, if we love anything, we love dogs. And the Michael Vick thing, I remember talking about that when it happened and stuff. And look, what Michael Vick did was fucked up. With the dog fighting ring and. There's like illegal gambling and shit and everything, and like the torture and I don't know. And I said, okay, I get that what Michael Vick did was bad, but holy shit, people! Like, you guys are acting like this guy is a serial killer. Like, you guys, like, people have done worse stuff than what Mike Vick was like despised by the population for years, and she saw that. She knows who Michael Vick is, and I just like I don't get it. I don't get it, lady. So the conservative media is turning against her. And I have a clip from Newsmax. And the Newsmax host tells her straight to her face, he doesn't think she's going to be the vice president now, which is pretty great.
So here's the quote from the book. You say that, I remember when I met North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Governor, that never happened.
What I have said in the book is that when I became aware of the content, that we had it changed. And that's the way that it is. So I should not have put that anecdote in the book. That I'm not going to talk about my meetings.
But an anecdote indicates that it happened, right?
I'm not going to talk about my conversations with world leaders. I've been involved in policy for 30 years. For 30 years, I've been traveling the world, talking to...
Like, the pivot is so bad. Like, the pivot is so fucking bad.
It doesn't even make sense. I've been involved in policy for 30 years as an answer to why did you write that?
Right? It's so bad. It's like I have a hard time believing that a PR team came up with these, but they obviously did. Someone did.
Her PR. No, clearly she did not have a PR team when she wrote.
Oh, okay. Maybe so.
A PR team, they would have never allowed this to happen. Or you hired a freshman PR student.
Yeah,
this wouldn't have happened.
You know what? That does make sense. That does make sense because. Can you imagine anybody that's done this job for 5 minutes saying, yeah, cool, release the story about you shooting your dog? Yes, ma'am, that makes perfect sense to me. That's really going to endear you to the public. And the lie about Kim Jong-un, yeah, populate that one too. It makes me wonder what else is in this book. Because like if those are like the other choices she picked, it's just wild. All right, here we go.
World leaders. And that is a conversation that I'm not going to have in this book. So I've answered that in interviews already. I've been very forthright, and I think that a typical politician wouldn't be that honest. As soon as it became to my attention, I asked for the content to be changed, and it has been.
Governor, I'm not asking you about the details of this alleged meeting. I'm asking if the meeting actually happened. I don't think it did, and I think if it did, you'd be able to confirm for me that yes, it did, and here's when it happened. It happened, say, at such and such a date or a month, or you don't have to be specific.
I'm not going to talk about my conversations.
You're going to continue to have to answer this question then.
I don't think so.
Oh, that's it. Wasn't the clip I was thinking of. So earlier in that interview, that guy's talking to her and says, listen, if you would have asked me last year who the first option I thought for Trump's VP, it would have been you. And he says, but now I don't even think you're on the list. That's how he started. He's like, I don't think you're on the list anymore.
Oh my God, that's insulting. That it's deservedly insulting.
It's true.
About as insulting as a journalist will get interviewing about it.
It is, especially like a Newsmax guy talking to a Republican. That's not going to happen. And I saw this this afternoon with Kristi, Noem, because I was asked like, why does she keep doing this? Good news for Kristi Noem, but bad news for the rest of us. That South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem drops out of interviews. So she's canceled a bunch of interviews today. Like she canceled one last night for Fox News on Greg Gutfeld's show. It says Kristi Noem embarked this week on one of the more tumultuous book tours in American history. She was peppered with questions about an anecdote about killing her dog and another story about meeting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Major doubts were raised that the latter story was true. As she sought to promote No Going Back, the name of her book, she was peppered with questions and interviews.
What a prophetic name for her book.
Oh my God, right? It's the irony is so great. It's so great. Mainstream outlets like Face the Nation, but some of the most contentious questions and answers have been from those on the right, like Fox News, Stuart Varney, and Newsmax clips we both watched. The book was an obvious getting attention track for Donald Trump. And as he considers potential running mates. But the Newsmax host told her, I don't even think you're on the list anymore. And I don't think so either. Like, I think it's game over for her. Which is why I wanted to do this one today, because I don't know how much longer we'll ever be able to talk about Kristi Noem. Because I figure a couple weeks from now, no one's going to be talking about her at all. And I don't know if you remember this. So a few months ago, I was talking about how Kristi Noem had been releasing this weird shit on her Twitter account because she released a commercial for veneers, and she did another commercial for insoles for her shoes, and she got her teeth fixed in Texas, and she does a commercial for some place that fixes her teeth in Texas. And I was like, well, so she's just weird. Like you mentioned, she's just a weird person. I don't think she understands this game. It's incredible she became governor, even in a state like South Dakota. It's incredible she actually got that far.
It is. It's just you think about just how dumb some of these people are that have gotten to very powerful positions that affect the lives of many, many, many people. And it's just this person thinks that shooting your dog is something to brag about when you're a politician in America. Like that.
Wild.
You could ask a fucking 10-year-old. You know, hey, do you think this is a good idea? And 100% of them would say, no, that's dumb. Yeah. Jesus. Excuse me. Let me.
You gotta quit smoking.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just allergies. Let me show you. So it very similarly. Before I do, I just want to say that Newsmax anchor saying that to her face is basically confirmation she is off the list.
Done.
You know that if she's on the list, you wouldn't like have the balls to insult the potential fascist vice president of
no chance. Yep.
Federated States of America. Her face like that. So like, yeah, that's that. There's no way she's done. She's done. She's chumming the water. She
over.
Should quit. There's nothing left to do in life. Pursue another dream, girl. Like that. It's over.
She's lucky. She's lucky she is from South Dakota. Because if she was somewhere like New York, she'd be surrounded by media all the time. But now she can go back to the Badlands or whatever and disappear in public life.
I will say Trump once said that he could shoot a stranger on Fifth Avenue and people would still love him, and that is true. But I don't think even he could shoot a dog in the face.
That'd be hard. That'd be hard.
I think of all the things he has survived. I don't think he would survive shooting his own dog. Bragging about it.
Well, is the dog a Democrat? Like, is it
fucking woke ass dog? It's tranny dog.
Exactly. Is the dog trans? Because I mean, like, it depends what kind of dog we're talking about here, and then maybe they'd applaud it.
Was exposing my kids to gender ideology,
right? Yeah.
Like 30.
I heard this dog got his genitals removed. This is an outrage. This is.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so this is a clip of another favorite of ours, Tim Scott. So,
great!
Did you see Tim Scott talking to I forget her first name, but Welker?
I think I know talking about with the election.
So I'll just play the clip here without spoiling anything, because it is really, really just it's not just great Tim Scott, it's just great everything.
Versus 4 years of Donald Trump, they're really excited to get back to the Trump years, and so I expect the election to be fair, and I expect Donald Trump to be our next president.
In terms of what he said, he specifically said, if it's not fair, as you're saying, you have to fight for the right of the country. And just this week, he said that he won Wisconsin. Falsely, Senator. So again, to the point, you voted to certify the election results of 2020. It's the exact opposite of what you said and did after 2020. Why would you want to be on a ticket with someone where there's such a fundamental difference?
There is clear facts here. President Trump himself said he expects this election to be fair, he expects it to be honest, and he expects to win. That's what the presidential candidate should expect, and I expect the exact same thing. And frankly, the American people agree with him. This is an issue that is not an issue, so I'm not going to make it an issue.
Well, Senator, will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line.
At the end of the day, will be President Donald Trump, and I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait, Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you election results of 2024, no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president. Multiple times,
Senator, just a yes or no answer.
So the American people will make the decision.
But I don't hear you committing
for President Trump. That's clear.
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the challenge.
Will you commit to accepting the election results?
This is why so many Americans believe that NBC is an extension of the Democratic Party. I said what I said, and I know that the American people, their voices will be heard, and I believe that President Trump will be our next president. It's that simple.
But senators, you know, the hallmark of our democracy is that both candidates agree to a peaceful transfer of power. So I'm asking.
4 years of Joe Biden versus 4 years.
You're watching that and you're just like, there is no war on Passing Say. It is so hard. Like, honestly, like as much as it's funny, it is one of the more dystopian clips I've seen.
It's so fucked up.
Like, it's just like, will you commit to a peaceful transfer of power? Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the United States. That is my statement. Like, if Tim Scott wasn't such a dunce, that would have come off a lot more scary.
Yes,
I mean,
it's true. That's true. Yeah,
like if you had like a fucking Dick Cheney say that, I'd be like,
oh my God,
I'm terrified. You know, but it's Tim Scott. So you're just like, oh, well, fucking Tim Scott.
Oh, it's old Tim. You rascal, you. It's all right. So she asked him like 6 times. So here's the thing. I would be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed to do something like that. To just blatantly ignore the question, because look, there are unfair questions. People can like if someone asks you, "Hey, when did you stop beating your wife?" Okay, that question is set up for you to be wrong no matter what you say. Then you just say it. Just say, "No, that question is disingenuous, and here is why." And then you explain it. That's the strength answer. Like that's the answer people would respect, and it's true. But to just deflect from it, like the most cowardly way possible, just to appeal to Donald Trump. Like just appeal to Donald Trump. Like that is, because the whole time I watch that, whenever I see, because this happens to a lot of politicians. And by the way, I did like the fact that he says, that since you're asking if I'm going to accept the results, that's why so many people think NBC is like, wait a minute, what does that mean? Like,
are you telling me that the Democratic Party stands for peaceful transfer of power and the Republican Party does not? Is that what you're
exactly
saying?
what he's saying? That's exactly what he's saying.
How else are you supposed to interpret those words?
Yeah, there's no other way. And the whole time I'm watching that, I'm thinking, look, why not just lie at this point? Just lie. Just say yes. just say yeah. You can always turn your back on it after the election. I wonder this all the time with politicians.
Because it'll piss Trump off. Because it will piss Trump off.
That's the only reason.
Like, yeah, he should. That should. This is why I say, yes, the concerns of Donald Trump becoming a dictator are incredibly serious and incredibly real. However, I can't really get too worked up about it because I know he's incompetent. Because if he was competent and wanted to be a dictator, no, it's over. It is over in a blink of an eye. If an actual competent fascist was Donald Trump, it's over. It's over for the whole world. But he's not. I mean, he's an idiot.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard to find a competent fascist.
Well, because you kind of have to. It doesn't work that way. Things that lead you to becoming a fascist dictator also lead you to incompetence, because you can't rule through fear and be competent. Those two things don't work. Because competent people don't rule through fear. It doesn't work that way.
I think you could rule through fear, but you would be more. How do I phrase it? Because you could be like an authoritarian, but like a fascist is a little different because of like the mythos that's collected with it. Because you could just be, like a general or something and rule with an iron fist through fear, like a military junta or something like that. But like Hitler was a fascist, whatever, wildly incompetent, wildly incompetent, which is, it's insane he got as far as he did, because like he was unstable, he was insane. He was like the stuff the Nazis were doing, man, like they could have won that war. Like they could have won that war if they weren't like trying to find if there were aliens in Antarctica, if there was like a hole in the center of the earth and looking for ghosts and like pagan blood myths. Like they spent so much time on nonsense because that's what fascists do. Like they're not built for logic. And so, yeah, Trump isn't built for logic and he'd have a hard time doing it. But it's just insane how he's whipped the whole Republican Party behind him. And I love watching, and we've been saying this for a while, that I don't think Trump has a great chance of winning. I got to say, though, I am surprised seeing how much support he's lost in Republican primaries. That actually does surprise me. Like yesterday was the primaries in Indiana, and Nikki Haley got 22% of the vote, or like 25% of the vote for Republicans. Like insanity. She's not even running. Yeah, it's wild. So I thought for sure that I knew that most of the country rejected Trump, but I thought for sure he would hold on to, 90% of the Republicans. No, he's actually lost a lot of them too, which is, I got to say, kind of surprising. I don't know if this surprises you or not, but it definitely got me.
have you ever watched, like, you can, they go viral every once in a while, a clip of a basketball game, like an NBA basketball game, where just like team shoots, misses, team shoots, misses, team shoots, misses. And it goes on for like 5 minutes. And you're just like, every time they miss, you're like, how is it possible that these professional athletes missed that many times in a row? And that's what it feels like watching Trump go against Biden. It's like, it's just terrible decision after terrible. It's like they're both intentionally trying to lose and can't do it. Because here's the other thing. I honestly don't think either of them want to be president. Like, if you fucking like put the Wonder Woman lasso of truth around them, I think Biden only wants to be is only running for president because he just feels like an obligation to do so. Like I think if you gave Biden a genie and it's like, what do you really want to do? It wouldn't be president of the United States in my 80s. Like, I really don't think that's the case. Like Bernie Sanders, I think he also doesn't want to, but he feels he has to. And I think it's a very similar feeling that Biden has, but he's just wrong about that. Whereas Trump is only doing it. I honestly believe this. I think if he didn't feel like he had to in order to not go to jail, he wouldn't be running for president again. I think he would have been because I don't think he wanted to be president. I don't think he ever wanted to be president. I think he would have just been like, hey, this is my successor. I'm going to go to rallies and have fun and have the crowd chant my name. And he's going to be the guy that you all yell at, and that would be Trump's dream scenario. But he can't, because if he does that, he's going to jail.
So I halfway agree with you about Trump. I agree completely that he didn't actually want to be president.
There's no fucking way.
No shot. He wanted to, do what a lot of people do, where they run for president, raise their profile. It gets you a lot more money and more recognition, and it'd be a fun time. He gets to go to all the rallies and wear the hats and have the chance, and then the real politicians will win. And he's like, holy shit, this hold on. Then he just kept winning. Now, I do think he would still run if he weren't in trouble for going to jail, because I think out of ego now, because he's embarrassed he lost. He doesn't like the fact that he lost. And you ever do something for that, you're like, God, I really don't want to do this, but I got to save my pride here. I got to save some face. So I think he would still run. I don't know if he actually wants to be president, but I think he would still run to win, just to try to build up his ego. And I agree with Biden too. I think so. Biden wanted. It's funny because Biden has wanted to be president his whole life. He's run for president 3 times. He ran in the 80s, he ran in the 2000s, and he ran, just recently. But Obama picked Clinton over him, and that had to just burn. If it were me, I would have been so pissed off, because he definitely would have beaten Trump in 2016. He definitely would have beaten him.
Decimated Trump.
Oh God.
He would have dollywopped Trump. It wouldn't have even been close. It would have been less close than 2020 was. In 2020,
it would have. You're right. Yeah, I agree. And so he's like, okay, my boss didn't give me the letter of recommendation last time, and the country got Donald Trump as president. So now I have to. Like I said, now I kind of have to. And I think he kind of feels the same way now. And because you're right, man, Biden is what, 82 or something? He's 81 or 82. Mm-hmm. Man, you want to be president, you want to die in the Oval Office. There's a great chance that will happen. So I don't know.
Very high chance. I think there's a very high chance that whoever the next president is dies in office. It's probably the highest chance ever. Easily.
A lot of vice presidents become presidents, historically. If you look at the numbers, it's 25% of vice presidents end up being president. There has never been a higher chance for a vice president to become president than right now, no matter who it is. And so, the running mate for that Trump picks is very important, and which is goddamn, Kristi, Noem, you.
And that's the other part, TJ. That's the part that really, because there's a part of me that's growing as time goes on and we get closer to November and polls aren't moving in the right direction. And I know that polls now are bullshit and don't really matter, but it's a concern. It's in the back of your brain, okay, when are the polls going to start to turn around? I'm getting worried now. But also the primaries are, as you mentioned, very, very devastating for Donald Trump's chances.
Awful.
And the fact that no one of significance wants to be his VP in what would probably be the clearest pathway to absolute power that anyone could
ever.
Like, you just attach yourself to this ticket, you do a little campaigning, there's probably a 50% chance that he just fucking keels over and dies, and then you have the fascist power of America if you really want it. Or you could be the guy that saved the day and averted fascism. You have a very, very good likelihood of like going down really however you want. And no one wants to do it. Like, no, and it's an open job. Anyone can take it. Anyone who's better than Tim Scott can take it.
Oh my God. Well, so the issue with that is, if you are like, so I say like, I don't think Trump will pick anyone who ran for president. I don't think he likes the idea of an ambitious vice president like that. Like, I think he'd want someone like, Kristi Noem, who wasn't in the running or something. And that's just my gut feeling. Who knows now that Kristi Noem's out? Like, he may be forced to go pick someone like that. But one thing also too about that is we're gonna wrap the show up pretty soon. But a lot of Republicans don't think Trump's going to win either. And you can see this a lot in their body language. Like, Mitch McConnell came out like last week talking about how Republicans should temper their expectations for this next upcoming election. And Trump is beating Biden in a lot of polls, like in swing states, like he's like in Arizona, I think he's up. And Michigan is super close, like way closer than anyone would want it to be. But the problem is, Republicans are losing literally every other poll, like every other one. You look at the Senate campaigns, the House campaigns, dog catcher campaign, like it's like Republicans are losing all of those, and that is terrible for Trump. And so, guys, Trump's fans, like they're very loud, and they'll show up and they'll participate in these phone call polls because they're all old as hell and everything. So, like, that's why I don't. It doesn't bother me quite as much. Yeah, I wish Trump were behind those polls, but it'd be very, very weird that the nation just votes blue in everything except the presidency. Like, that's just weird. That doesn't happen too often. So yeah, like I do wish it was better, like more comforting, and Biden's not doing himself any favors, but it's gonna be interesting to watch if they even both survive to November, and we don't even know.
Yeah, it's as much as I know exactly what's going to happen, how we get there is such a mystery to me. Like I have a high degree of confidence that Biden is winning this election. Very high degree of confidence. But I have no idea what happens between now and then. Anything could happen.
Yeah, or what happens afterward. Like, Biden wins. Now what? Now what? Now what? Now it's like it's still.
I'm very excited for that, TJ. I'm telling you, I'm like, because like as a content creator, I was very much looking forward to 2024. More eyeballs, more views, whatever. TikTok's just giving me the finger, just saying like, we're not giving you views, so like that's whatever. But I am so looking forward to after Trump is gone. We no longer have to worry about that, and I can just savagely attack Joe Biden. Because I already attacked Joe Biden enough, but now I don't have to deal with you're helping Trump. It's like,
oh my God,
fucking excuse will you have now? And I cannot fucking wait to go to war. Once like I can really take the gloves off.
Well, look, first, two things with that. One, brother, I have had it with all of these. Well, are you trying to hurt Joe? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Like, do you work for Joe Biden's campaign? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, Joe Biden is hurting Joe Biden by doing the genocide. I'm not hurting Joe Biden by honestly, I don't get what you're trying to do here. Like, I don't get it. It is like, I'm going to scream at you guys like they don't fucking know what they're doing. It's like, you think these are idiots? Like, they know, I'm not voting for Biden. That might hurt. They know. Like, they know. You're not telling them anything new.
I just threw it out there, teacher. I threw it out there on Threads. I was like, hey, can someone give me a good reason? Like, if you support Palestine, a good reason for like committing to voting for Joe Biden right now. Like, I understand the pragmatic reasons for voting for him in November, but why would you ever tell anyone you're doing that? And people are like, oh, well, people like might be convinced to not vote for Joe Biden if I say I vote. And it's like, no, they weren't doing it anyway. They didn't just like suddenly discover because you mentioned that he's funding a fucking genocide in Gaza that like they didn't just notice that, bro. Like they had their thoughts on that already.
Yes, yeah, it's true. I think people are giving way too much power to not only content creators but just regular ass people. Just like you think that they're swinging people's votes by this. Like, no, that's what they're going to do. You're not going to convince them by yelling at them. I don't get it at all.
People have this fucking like superhero like image of us, where it's like they think that we're all getting rich off of this.
Yeah.
And they think that we have like actual influence and power. And it's like, bro, if you were sitting in my seat, you would realize just how fucked you are.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. I got nothing. And I got like what you think is like an incredible following. Like, it's insane.
And most of those people, if they're engaged in politics, are people who already agreed with you. It's like that's the vast majority of them. Like, this guy says what I think, I'm gonna watch it. Like, that's how that shit works. Every now and then you'll convince somebody, but you don't do it by just like berating people and acting like they're idiots as they don't know what they're voting for. But then again, I also don't get the hey folks, I'm going to tell you why I'm not voting for Joe Biden and do like a 4-minute video on that. I don't care about that either. But at least that has like some value in that it's speaking to politicians. Like, hey, enough people are saying they're not voting for you. That could actually do something, because that does work on politicians. You should bully the hell out of politicians. In fact, like what you said, to me, it makes perfect sense to say, Joe Biden, I am not voting for you unless you do what I want. Like, that's your prerogative as a voter. And what I would do, like if I were so inclined, I would threaten Joe Biden to not vote for him. I'd still vote for him in November, but I wouldn't tell him that. I wouldn't cede away my power. Like, why would I do that?
Someone literally responded to me. They're like, "Oh, well, I just don't like lying. Like, I don't like promising one thing and then doing another." And but he also said he was very happy with Joe Biden as a president. I'm like, okay, so like when he promised no more drilling on federal lands, and then he did that more than Trump. How are these two things? Like, how do you think you're a bad person for doing that, but you don't think Joe Biden's a bad person for doing that constantly? And I'm not even saying Joe Biden does that more than most politicians. He doesn't. But like, still, like, come on, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's I don't know. We fall into this like team sports mentality a lot of times. Like, you are hurting the team. So this is not a team. Like, this is politics, man. Like, the politicians are not your friends. I hate to tell you guys, like, everyone out there talking about how great Joe Biden, Kamala Harris are. Listen, they work for you. You do not have to kiss their asses. That is not how this shit works. Like, it's not the other way around. So I don't know. Oh, all right.
What are our topics tomorrow, TJ?
Well, yeah, I was just thinking, it's
the problem is it's the same topics as last week.
Well, I was thinking of them this morning, but I got so excited about the Kristi Noem thing that I forgot to write down the other topics I wanted to go over. Because there was go ahead. So
I say, because there's the campus protests that are just more the campus protests and things are already said. I think it's over. I think Israel's over by the end of the month. I think we're hitting it's over. Did you see that Biden today said that he's not going to send weapons to Israel?
Precision guided missiles.
He conditioned aid finally. Like, I think it's over, TJ.
It's so bad. It's so bad, man. Because Israel's doing this to themselves. That's the thing. Like, they've gotten high on their own supply for nearly a century. And like, when I saw some lady, I don't know who she was. I don't know if she was an official. She spoke like one. But Biden and the United States government says that they're no longer going to give the Israeli military like precision guided missiles or whatever. And so she says, okay, they're not going to give us precision guided missiles. We have imprecise missiles. So instead of destroying a room, we're going to destroy 10 buildings. That's what we're going to do. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
if there's anything I am giving them, it is the precision guided missiles. Like, if I'm going to give them any weapons, those are the ones I'm giving them, and only those.
It's not. I mean, they would just use it on like an elementary school anyway. So like, it's Israel. There's so many good like articles about this Israel thing. Like Hamas accepted the ceasefire. That's a good one. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm looking through. What's happening? It's just like all of the big news stories are just like they are starting to hit back to back to back to back to back. And I don't think this and this continues much farther. I can't. The ships are starting to finally move past the point of no return, and it really is just how far out they go, and it's all up to Israel. Israel right now, genuinely, like, if they keep pushing this, they could lose the U.S. entirely. Like, if they knew what was good for them, they would knock it off right now and say, yes, sir, we'll do whatever you say so we can still be in your pocket. And they might lose that at this rate.
I mean, it's just like they are running out of ways to plausibly defend any of this. Like, you can't. I mean, you try explaining to me how they spent months at the end of the year saying, well, listen, we're going after Hamas and you guys need to, flee to southern Gaza where it's safe. And now 6 months later, half of the Gaza Strip residents are in Rafah. They're bombing it. It's like, hold on, you spent this entire time saying this is safe. It's like, it turns out it's not. And then it's like, well, if you guys want to be safe, you need to go over to Egypt. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Why should they go to Egypt? Why won't you take the civilians? You say that you want to take care of the civilians. You're only going after Hamas. Then why don't you accept the civilians? Sounds like you don't really care about the civilians. You don't mind killing them either. And so another one so did you see Mitt Romney admitted in that interview that the TikTok ban was about Palestine? Did you see that?
Yep.
I think that'd be a good one. Oh, I guess that's the same. I guess
it's
kind
the
of
same. We already did that one. All of these topics we already did.
You're right.
Because it wasn't even Mitt Romney. It was another congressman said the same shit like a month ago. Like it's just these stories keep repeating. Did you see fucking Pierce Morgan interviewing the Israeli?
Yes.
That was fucking fantastic.
That was amazing.
About that. Fucking Pierce Morgan.
Pierce
Morgan.
You've lost Pierce Morgan. IDF. You have lost Pierce Morgan.
They lost Pierce Morgan a little while ago, but that was one of the most hard-hitting journalism things I've seen, and it was from Pierce fucking Morgan.
That's what. So for you, what I'm talking about, what we're talking about is Pierce Morgan was asking this spokesperson for the Israeli military, "Hey, how many civilians have you killed?" He goes, "I have no idea." He says, "Well, hold on. You said that you've killed a bunch of terrorists, right?" He said, "Oh yeah, we definitely have." It's like, okay, so how many civilians killed? Oh, don't know. Well, how is it one and not the other? That is like, well, we're being very careful. Okay, if you're being careful, then you would know the number. I mean, just like no defense whatsoever. And Pierce Morgan. So at first, I hated Pierce Morgan. I mean, I always have, I guess, but like everybody else, because he was just so pro-Israel stuff. Over the last few months, he's not necessarily been with us or anything, but he's trying to do well, let's play both sides here. And, I'm sure the IDF has good points and, the Palestinian. And so he's doing that thing now. So it's kind of annoying, but he is actually starting to grill these representatives from the IDF because there are no good answers to this shit. None. With this hostage thing, that one, if that doesn't show what's going on, I don't know. Because so for those who don't know, Israel and Gaza brokered a ceasefire through Egypt and Qatar. And the ceasefire just basically included them exchanging prisoners and exchanging, hostage prisoners of war. And then they would call for a ceasefire. And Israel said, all right, we'll go for it. And then Hamas said, okay, we will too. Israel's like, actually, on second thought, no. No, we're not. It's like, okay, sounds like you don't give a shit about the hostages, like we've been saying the entire time. So it's just there's no more defense for this shit. It's annoying as hell.
So I say tomorrow we do a 2-part episode, which is just called "The End Is Near," and it's all of the fucking shit that's been going on in the past week. Because genuinely, I think we have 2 more weeks of talking about Israel. I'm calling my shot like Babe Ruth. In 3 weeks, we will not have a video about Israel because this is going to be over. And I could be wrong about that. I've been wrong about things before, but I'm feeling pretty confident in this one that it can't keep going. The plausible deniability is just crashing in on itself like a black hole. Like it doesn't work. Once Biden commits to conditioning aid, there's no going back from there. There's only a couple more steps before he can't go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if he gets there, it's over. And I think we're gonna get there very soon.
Okay. So I'll throw you some ideas tonight too, because I know I had a couple. that I thought were good outside of that. And so go ahead.
So I've got a couple here, and they're more like topics than they are stories. But we have the ocean temperatures record highs
Oh no!
Talk about global warming. Like they're just like insanely for a streak of 13 months, they've been the hottest ocean temperatures on record. So like, yeah, that could just be a topic. We haven't talked about climate change in a while.
It's a bummer.
And what was the
narrator says he wishes he had our optimism. So I don't describe it as optimism with the whole Biden thing. That's what your reference. Oh, he's probably about Israel. He's probably talking about Israel. That's what we were just talking about.
Oh yeah, probably yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it's hard to imagine this lasting too much longer. Because how bad it looks. But I'm sorry, John. Was the other one you had?
But it's the reason I have the optimism narrator, and I'll respond directly to that since you said that. It's because I know that these things. It's one of those things where, what's the quote? For decades nothing happens, and then in a week decades happen. Like that's how this is going to go down. Where we've started to see the wheels shift, and once they start shifting, they do not stop. And like as long as Israel remains in its position currently, where it is invading Rafah, and this is the really sad part, is I do think it ends with thousands more people dying first, which is the really sad part. And I think that's what ends this, is that they invade Rafah, thousands of people die, and Joe Biden is kind of just forced to go, okay, we can't do this anymore because it's going to cause outroar. And he can't afford that in an election year. So, like, I think that's what's Netanyahu has opposition to his right and thinks he's being too sort. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is Netanyahu is stuck on his course, and his course ends in invading Rafah and killing thousands of refugees. And Biden's course cannot accept that. And so this probably ends with thousands of innocent people dying and the conflict being over. At least in its current form. But yeah, we'll see. I can't wait to like play this in a couple of weeks and just fucking do it. I mean,
see what happens.
I can wait. I really wish that doesn't happen. Like I really fundamentally, I hate that I think that's going to happen. But fuck, I just, unless a miracle happens and someone convinces Netanyahu to change course, how long can he continue to delay invading Rafah?
Yeah.
Biden continue to support him. I don't think it can happen, but we'll see. Anyway, what were we even saying, PJ?
I saw this thing about no need to hold your breath.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath either.
These are gambles, was that I saw a report about Trump's campaign and how like Biden had like 100 offices, like campaign offices in Pennsylvania, and Trump has 0. And like how the money changed there. So just like horse race stuff. That's always kind of fun, I think.
Yeah, we can do. I mean, we already did the fucking Biden Trump horse race outperforming.
You're right. They are kind of the old same stories.
Nothing new is happening. Like who's our guest tomorrow, DJ?
Say what? Oh, so our guest tomorrow is Serafina Simone. She was on my channel a few weeks ago. She has this great series called The Bible Doesn't Make Any Sense. It's really funny, and she talks about these Bible stories and everything, but she's gonna be fun. She's a great guest. It'll be a good time.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Since like we don't have too many topical shit, you want to do just a religion episode?
We can do, that'll tie in great. We can still do this stuff and do religion. I love it. I love it. Religion.
Perfect.
She'll love that.
So we'll do a 2-parter on Israel because there's just so much to talk about. We'll do the climate change and we'll do let me send you that story that I was looking at so you can send it to her. And then we'll just do, hey, we're just gonna like shoot the shit about religion and politics.
Christian politics. Nationalism, all that. It's gonna be fun stuff. I agree.
Wait, why am I putting it in there? I'll send this to you on Instagram. But yeah, cool. That's it. That's our show, guys. Narrator, thank you for being here. You got here right at the tail end, but we'll be back.
All right, later, folks.